This is PJNET.TV, and this is my perspective and comments. In this video segment of my perspective and comments, we cover politics, society here and abroad, and the events of the day that are shaping our nation. PJNET.TV, my perspective and comment, coming to you with a worldview, one nation under God. Welcome to my perspective and comments. And I'd like to talk about what's been going on here in New York State. Today, first day, we had Governor Hochul's edict making new law to spite the Supreme Court regarding them taking the restrictions off New York and letting New York governor and the Democrats know that the gun law that they had in the books years ago now, as of yesterday, was unconstitutional. So they struck that down. So what did Hochul and company do? They came up with new laws, thumbing their nose, Kathy Hochul thumbing her nose at the Supreme Court and making even more restrictive laws in New York, which won't stand. I mean, it's going to get bounced because they went well beyond what was struck down to begin with. But this is pathetic, and this is what you get out of Kathy Hochul. You know, you look back at Andy Cuomo, and he must have taught her well, because she has the same attitude. You do what I say, and that's her attitude. And what she did with the Supreme Court, making laws that are even worse than what was on the books before. What am I talking about? Basically, if you have a concealed carry permit for a handgun, you're the only place that you're going to be legal without being in jeopardy of a misdemeanor or felony is that you keep your gun in your home and in your car. Nothing in public. Nothing in private, unless the private entity has signs saying guns are welcome. Nothing, no guns in churches, in hospitals, in a concert. Any public place will be banned. Basically, they've banned concealed carry in the state of New York with this new law. So right now, the New York, I believe the name is the New York Concealed Carry Association, has had a lawsuit. The judge in this case basically said, you don't have standing right now because there was no one that was injured by this ruling, because it just went into effect on Thursday. So what will happen next is, now that the law is actually in effect right now, they'll go back maybe to the same judge. As a matter of fact, this judge wrote a 75 plus page ruling, and 24 of those pages were pointing out areas where he's looking at it and saying this is unconstitutional. Well, things like what I had mentioned about you couldn't conceal in those areas. Also, this new law is that the Hochul and company wants to have some agency, the state police or some agency, to go through your social media accounts and to see what you have to say, what you've had to say on some of the social media accounts. And if you're a trustworthy or person, sounds kind of subjective to you, doesn't it? So again, the judge says this isn't going to get through muster. and he also brought up about the all the areas that you couldn't carry. So if I wanted to go in to the hardware store today, starting Thursday, go in and have my carry my handgun, I could be a felon overnight because of this Hochul law. So the judge says, really, that's not going to fly either. So right now, what's going to happen is this will be overturned, and it's just a matter of when. The sooner, the better. And the only reason why the judge didn't put a stay on this is because there was no injured party, because the law hadn't gone in effect. And I believe he looked at this or made this ruling on Wednesday, but the law took place on Thursday. So it's going to go back up through the courts, and I believe that they will put a stay on this and say, no, this isn't going to fly. But here's Kathy Hochul, and she wants to be the governor now. She's been out there campaigning and blasting. Lee Zeldin is running on the Republican side, and she's basically said, Zeldin and those that would vote for you that are Republican and conservative, you don't belong here. You need to go to Florida. That's where you belong, because you're not really a New Yorker. That's her attitude. So she's flying. She's flying. This Kathy Hochul, Governor Kathy Hochul, is flying all over the state of New York on her broom, campaigning against anyone that Lee Zeldin and anyone that would support Lee Zeldin. And I guess this is why there's been a mass exodus from New York, like what's happening in California, what's happening in Illinois, and these far left states. And ultimately, that's what Kathy Hochul would like to see. More Republicans and conservatives leaving the state, leaving the state with, one, less taxpayers, and two, the crop that would be voting for her. So, again, we have Hochul on her broom going from city to city in New York, campaigning right now. What we're seeing taking place here, keeping on New York, she wants to restrict guns where you can't carry, you can't, in your home and in your car, basically, is what this new law is. But look at what we've been seeing in New York State over the last 2 years, this new gun ban, this so-called bail reform. And what we're seeing is it's a revolving door. They come into the courtroom, judge says bail, they go back out and commit more crimes. And the phenomena is that it's a low percentage that are committing these crimes, and they just won't lock them up. And that's what we're seeing in New York right now, is that the criminals know that they're just going to get a slap on the hand, and that's why we're seeing the escalation of crime taking place in this state. And it's not just a phenomena in the state of New York, but we're seeing this through all these Democrat states that have gone soft on crime, and now it's the law-abiding that are paying the price with the crime going sky high in their neighborhood. I'd like to talk a bit about Greg Abbott's been in the news again. But before I touch on Greg Abbott, I just want to let us know that I know some time ago, maybe 5 months ago, I heard Ron DeSantis talking about the problem of in the middle of the night illegal aliens getting flown into his state. And he had made a suggestion about how would Joe Biden like to have, a transference from Florida to Delaware with illegal aliens. Now, I remember him saying that, but I guess maybe Greg Abbott was listening and overheard it, because what we're seeing is because Texas is right, is the focal point of what the invasion is taking place. He has been sending illegal aliens to New York, and we're seeing in D.C. But there's a new city in town that Greg Abbott has been sending the illegal aliens that are coming in, that are invading his state. Chicago now is a recipient of these illegal aliens, and Lightfoot, I guess, squealing like Adams and Bowser there in D.C. Regarding what's these illegal aliens. But when you realize what the state of Texas has been dealing with each and every day in the invasion that's taking place, now maybe they're a Democrat, so they won't realize the severity. But they are concerned now, because now these illegal aliens are now becoming their problem. So we'll see how this plays out, but it's really highlighting the fact of the problem that's taking place there in Texas. And I'm glad to see Governor Abbott in this area is making a point. I'd like to talk quickly about, when you talk about messaging, we see Joe Biden fumbling and bumbling and can't put a sentence together. But also we see someone else struggling in his administration, and that's the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. And is she struggling? And she's if she doesn't have a folder full of responses, she struggles. And again, we're going to see a video clip here, one that's highlighting the fact of what Greg Abbott's doing, but also we see the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, trying to answer what's taking place at the southern border, and the problems that this illegal immigration, or this illegal trespass is taking place. And we see her stumbling and fumbling trying to answer, and struggling big time. So here, I'd like us to take a look here at this video clip on what Greg Abbott's doing, and on the response from the White House staff. Take a look.
All right. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about this. Over the last couple of years, we've talked about how a number of cities in the United States are sanctuary cities. As of a couple of years ago, there were close to 600 sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and sanctuary counties. Now, why do we bring those up? Because there is such a demand by the migrants who are coming into this country. They're looking for a place to go. And Greg Abbott is giving them a choice, essentially, because we know for a couple of months he's been shipping via bus migrants from our southern border to first Washington and then New York. And last night, 8 o'clock, look at that. A bus in Chicago. That's new. 60 people got off, mainly from Venezuela.
And that was one of the buses, but there were actually a total of two. They pulled right into Union Station. They're saying an estimate of 60 to 100 people, including 20 to 30 small children. And this is just the latest city to see the bus rolling in from Texas, because the governor down there is saying, we can't do all of this on our own. Y'all are sanctuary cities. You're saying it's okay for illegals to come in, so you help pay for it.
That's the invitation.
And this is because there's no leadership in the White House. We are actually having, in our lifetime, a war between the states, saying, you can't leave me with this burden, and the federal government's not going to step in. I'm spreading the burden out. Those midnight flights are controversial enough that just drop people in our city, and they end up in our school system. They go to NGOs, and those people clothe them and house them, and then send them off to 4th grade, send them off to 11th grade, or maybe make sure that they have housing. And then Texas is tired of it. Arizona is tired of it. I'm sure New Mexico and California are tired of it. And now they're saying, okay, you deal with it then. But the message, sadly, on the outside is chaos in America, and now's the time to come.
Yeah.
You see this, it looks great. So if I'm in Venezuela dealing with a terrible regime, if I'm impoverished in Guatemala, and I'm saying to myself, I owe it to my family to go, I will get in. You are 100% right. So do you realize how much worse this is going to get in the fall? And the administration has never asked about it. The president will not sit down and try to justify his policy at the border because he doesn't do any interviews.
Well, one of the people who got off the bus that we just saw spoke to the Chicago Sun-Times, and they said, why'd you come to Chicago? And the guy goes, well, I wanted to go to New York because I heard more people speak Spanish in New York. But you know what? There were no options, so I got on the bus. That's how I wound up in Chicago.
Right.
Now
maybe he'll end up on Second City.
You never know. That's the comedy group. In the meantime, there's a war of words between the Texas governor and the mayor of Chicago.
So this is the governor from Texas. To continue providing much-needed relief to our small, overrun border towns, Chicago will join fellow sanctuary cities, Washington, D.C. and New York City, as an additional drop-off location. Mayor Lightfoot loves to tout the responsibility of her city to welcome all, regardless of legal status. And I look forward to seeing this responsibility in action as these migrants receive resources from a sanctuary city with the capacity to serve them.
So what'd the mayor say?
Then the mayor says, unfortunately, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is without any shame or humanity. But ever since he put these racist practices of expulsion into place, we have been working with our community partners to ready the city to receive these individuals.
And then what does Ainsley say?
Ainsley says that I understand that the governor can't bear the brunt of all of this, and he has to share. He's been asking for help, and no one's listening. Our president's not going to the border. Kamala Harris is not going to the border. So he says, fine, I will send them to you. If you're not going to come down here and meet them, I will send them to you, and we can all take responsibility.
Right, because Texas is not a sanctuary state. So send them to a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state or a sanctuary county. That's what Greg Abbott is doing.
Is Austin, though, a sanctuary city?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a county.
Good point. And there are a bunch of them in California.
Right.
So they might be next.
So now this is what happens. You wanted them, you got them. It reminded me of, I remember the actor that came out and told all the homeless, come to my house. Do you remember that? It'll come to me.
And they did? It was a movie?
And it was a joke. And then he said all of a sudden he got overwhelmed when all the homeless showed up because, you could have you could act as tolerant as you want, but then when it at your doorstep.
Was it Gavin Newsom?
It might as well have been. That's a state.
He's a comedian.
He does say, come to California.
So Karine Jean-Pierre, she is created outrage 48 hours ago when she said, you can't just walk into our country. Yes, you can, unvaccinated. The answer obviously is yes, and outraged sheriffs across the border. Again, the issue is not only people coming here illegally, then you have other people who have evil intentions coming here, and then you have drugs, people making a profit and to kill Americans. Starts with China, given to the cartels, and then from the cartels it floods across our border. That's what Peter brought up to the press secretary.
300 overdoses a day now. We know how the fentanyl is coming into the country. It's coming right across the southern border. The DEA administrator says so. So when is the president going to do something?
So I will say that you have seen a 200% increase of fentanyl seizures, which means that we are doing the job of catching drug traffickers.
Life
seizures.
expectancies are going down at a rate not seen in a century, and part of that is being driven by drug overdoses. So what is the president going to do?
And we agree. We see those same numbers as well. But the fact that we are securing the border.
It's not being stopped. 300 overdoses. This is being designed to target children. Drug cartels in Mexico want to kill American kids. What is this president doing about it?
I hear you. I just laid out 200% of increase of drug fentanyl seizures. That is a dangerous drug that we are taking off the street. We are going to continue to focus. This is an important priority for this president.
Well, if it's such an important priority, particularly yesterday, which was Overdose Awareness Day, why aren't they stopping 100% of the fentanyl coming into this country? Because how many times have we heard about the hundreds of thousands of gotaways, the people who got into the country, never even saw somebody from Border Patrol? Those are the people who are bringing the fentanyl into the country and killing Americans daily. And the administration, because they have an open border policy, kind of looking the other way. Peter's questions were spot on, and her answers were not satisfactory, particularly to people who have lost a loved one to fentanyl.
It's basically, I feel like it's the Biden administration saying, we don't care.
We don't.
We don't care if there's a lot of fentanyl coming over, and there's a direct correlation. We're seeing the numbers higher on the border, and we're also seeing more fentanyl deaths. There's a correlation there, because that's where the fentanyl is coming in. It's like they don't care. If your child is going to die and take a pill, sorry, we're not closing the border.
Don't you remember?
If you don't want high gas prices, sorry, we're still closing the Keystone Pipeline. Do they care about the American people and how much we're spending and how much we're losing lives of our children?
No, they gave us the rolling blackout. And also, I remember Kellyanne Conway was in charge of the fentanyl and talking to schools and setting up a program. She was on our show multiple times during the 4 years of this administration. Where is their drug czar? Where is their focus on even be selfish? You'll get votes if you go to suburban America and say, I understand you got a huge fentanyl problem. I'm here to help.